NCAA enforcement and Michigan Stallions scandal, Petitti calls for faster action. Big Ten insights. The NCAA enforcement system is under fire, and the clock is ticking. Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti isn't just defending a team, he's challenging the entire framework of how college sports handles misconduct. But here's where it gets controversial. Is the current system even salvageable, or is it time for a complete overhaul? Let's break down the drama, the stakes, and why this debate is heating up faster than a post-game press conference. The Big Ten Media Days in Las Vegas set the stage for a fiery conversation. While Michigan's coaching staff won't speak until Thursday, the spotlight is already on them, thanks to Petitti's recent actions. Remember when he suspended Jim Harbaugh mid-flight to a crucial game? Now, he's doubling down. At Tuesday's event, Petitti confirmed he sent a letter to the NCAA urging no further penalties in the Connor Stalions sign-stealing scandal. But here's the twist, he won't reveal the letter's contents. It's an ongoing process, he said, dodging specifics. Yet his message is clear, he's protecting Michigan, but not just for show. And this is the part most people miss, Petitti's not just fighting for one team. He's pushing for a seismic shift in how violations are handled. We need a faster system, he declared, pointing to the newly formed College Sports Commission, CSC, as the answer. The current NCAA process, he argues, is outdated, a bureaucratic maze that drags on for seasons. We all agree this part of the process should change, he said, hinting at a consensus among leaders. But is speed the real solution, or just a band-aid for a deeper wound? For those new to the chaos, the CSC is a power conference-backed governing body set up after the House versus NCAA settlement. It's supposed to handle everything from nil deals to roster limits. But here's the elephant in the room, will it also take over enforcement? Petitti's comments suggest yes. Yet questions linger. Will faster decisions mean fairer ones? Or will they rush judgments without due process? And this is the part that sparks debate, should the CSC even have the authority to penalize programs, or does that centralize too much power in the wrong hands? The timeline is equally tense. The NCAA Committee on Infractions heard Michigan's case in June, with 2 days of testimony. A decision is expected before the season starts on August 30th. But the NCAA's track record? Think snail pace with a side of drama. Sharon Moore, the new head coach, could face a 2-game suspension if penalties are enforced. Yet with the NCAA's history of dragging its feet, especially on cases that risk bad PR, even this deadline feels like a gamble. So where does this leave us? Petitti's letter, read at the hearing, signals a plea for urgency. But is urgency enough? Or is the system so broken that even a faster process won't fix the trust gap? We want to hear your take. Is the NCAA enforcement model fundamentally flawed, or can it be salvaged with a few tweaks? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't hold back. Big Ten Commissioner Petitti advocates for no further penalties in Michigan sign-stealing scandal. In a bold move that has stirred the pot, Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti has taken a stand for Michigan football, advocating against any additional penalties in the wake of the notorious sign-stealing scandal. This is particularly noteworthy given the tumultuous history between Petitti and the Michigan program, which had previously unleashed a torrent of accusations and public backlash against him during the height of the controversy. The scandal, which revolved around the actions of former staff member Connor Stalions, saw Michigan embroiled in a legal battle that included claims of bias against Petitti and a barrage of negative reactions from fans on social media. Despite this rocky relationship, Petitti has penned a letter to the NCAA Committee on Infractions, arguing that Michigan should not face further sanctions. This letter was presented during an Infractions Committee hearing in Indianapolis earlier in June, as reported by multiple sources. The NCAA has charged Michigan with a total of 11 rule violations, 6 of which are classified as Level 1, the most severe category. While a ruling from the committee is anticipated before the 2025 season, it is important to note that they are not obligated to consider Petitti's perspective. The Big Ten confirmed the existence of Petitti's letter and mentioned that he would have attended the hearing in person had he not been recovering from hip replacement surgery at the time. Both the NCAA and Michigan are currently restricted from commenting on the ongoing case, and Petitti has chosen not to make any statements through a league spokesperson. In his correspondence, Petitti contended that the Big Ten had already imposed sufficient punishment on Michigan by suspending then-head coach Jim Harbaugh for the last 3 games of the 2023 regular season, which included critical matchups against Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State. Remarkably, even without Harbaugh, Michigan triumphed in all 3 games, ultimately securing the national championship. However, the NCAA still holds the power to impose various penalties on the Wolverines, which could include vacating past victories, banning them from postseason play, suspending coaches, imposing fines, or other disciplinary actions. Notably, Michigan has suggested a suspension for current coach Sharon Moore for the 3rd and 4th games of the 2025 season due to his deletion of text messages with Stalions during the unfolding scandal. Although the NCAA managed to recover these messages, Moore has not been accused of having any knowledge of Stalions' actions. The NCAA could also target individuals involved, including Harbaugh, who is now coaching the Los Angeles Chargers, Stalions, and others. However, Petitti's letter did not address potential individual penalties, according to sources. It is not uncommon for a league commissioner to advocate for one of their conference's teams, as the overall health of the conference is often tied to its programs avoiding NCAA sanctions that could hinder their competitiveness. What makes Petitti's stance particularly significant is the fraught relationship he has had with Michigan since the allegations first surfaced regarding Stalions sending associates to scout future opponents and film coaching signals from the sidelines. In a letter dated November 10, 2023, to Michigan's athletics director Ward Manuel, Petitti justified Harbaugh's suspension by emphasizing that the integrity of competition is the backbone of any sports conference or league, asserting that taking immediate action is appropriate and necessary. Michigan, however, strongly disagreed, arguing that due process was not followed, the evidence was inconclusive, and there was no proof that Harbaugh was aware of Stalions' activities. The university even sought an emergency temporary restraining order in Washtenaw County Court to allow Harbaugh to continue coaching. In a passionate court filing, Michigan claimed that the Big Ten's actions were fraudulent, unlawful, unethical, unjustified, and per se wrongful, and were done with malice, asserting that the league was inflicting irreparable harm on the reputations of both Harbaugh and the university, labeling the suspension a flagrant breach of fundamental fairness. Ultimately, Michigan withdrew its request for the restraining order, but the tension between the team and the commissioner lingered as Harbaugh remained sidelined. The suspension became a rallying point for Michigan players as they continued their undefeated season. Notably, Petitti opted not to attend the highly anticipated Ohio State-Michigan game that season, despite its significance in league history, with the Big Ten stating that he was never scheduled to be present. A week later, during the Big Ten championship game, Petitti faced a chorus of boos from Michigan fans when he presented the championship trophy to injured player Zach Zinter, notably not to Harbaugh, who had completed his suspension by that time. Now, it seems that the past grievances may be behind Petitti. He appears to believe that Michigan has already faced enough consequences for the scandal, as he noted in his initial decision that the suspension was not solely about Harbaugh but rather a broader disciplinary measure against the program. He stated, "We impose this disciplinary action even though the conference has not yet received any information indicating that head football coach Harbaugh was aware of the impermissible nature of the sign-stealing scheme. This is not a sanction of Coach Harbaugh. It is a sanction against the university." Petitti also acknowledged that additional disciplinary actions may be necessary or appropriate if the NCAA or Big Ten receives additional information concerning the scope and knowledge of, or participation in, the impermissible scheme. His current suggestion that Michigan has already served its time implies that no new evidence has surfaced. It appears that the past is being put to rest, even in the context of the Big Ten. Ohio State fans furious, Big Ten commissioner's handling of TTUN scandal. Ohio State football enthusiasts have every right to feel betrayed by the Big Ten commissioner. For the past year, they've been seething at the NCAA's sluggish handling of the investigation into Michigan's, TTUN, blatant and prolonged academic misconduct. Despite the severity of the allegations, no concrete penalties have been imposed yet. Adding fuel to the fire, Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti took it upon himself to penalize Michigan last season, handing down a 3-game suspension to Jim Harbaugh towards the end of the 2023 season. This appears to be the only significant repercussion TTUN has faced so far for their scandalous actions, although they have incurred penalties for other infractions. https://scarlet10game.com/TTUN-may-have-committed-Ohio-state-football-recruiting-target. Michigan decided to give Sharon Moore a 2-game suspension for the 2025 season, conveniently choosing the first and third games to avoid impacting their match against Oklahoma. Surprisingly, Petitti seems to agree that these penalties should suffice. And here's where it gets controversial. Petitti has reportedly written a letter to the NCAA, https://www.cbssports.com/collegefootball/news/Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti sends letter defending Michigan against further punishment per report / advocating against any additional sanctions for Michigan. This move raises eyebrows, as it appears Petitti might be caving to pressure from Michigan, rather than upholding the best interests of the entire Big Ten Conference. Petitti was appointed to prioritize the collective welfare of the Big Ten. Leniency towards Michigan sends a dangerous message to other teams that cheating could go unpunished. This situation underscores the need for a fair and stringent punishment to maintain the integrity of the league. While the exact nature of the forthcoming punishment remains uncertain, it is expected to be announced before the season starts. The NCAA has been tight-lipped about its decision. Regardless, anything short of vacating Michigan's title is likely to leave Ohio State fans dissatisfied. The prospect of a title vacating is slim, leaving fans hoping for substantial suspensions and scholarship reductions at best. However, these measures may not fully address the grievances of those who believe Michigan's cheating directly influenced their national title win. And this is the part most people miss. The real test of leadership for Tony Petitti lies in his ability to enforce a punishment that not only satisfies Ohio State fans but also reinforces the principle of fair play across the conference. Will he rise to the occasion, or will the controversy continue to simmer? Only time will tell.